Did you know that average testosterone levels in men have dropped drastically over the past few decades? We're talking about a 20 to 30% decline compared to our grandfathers at the same age. This isn't genetics, it's modern lifestyle. And here's the problem. This silent decline is stealing your energy in the middle of the afternoon, making it harder to gain muscle even when you're training hard, leaving you mentally foggy when you need focus the most, and undermining that natural confidence you used to have. Worse yet, many men simply accept this as part of aging, when in reality, it's completely reversible. The good news? You don't need expensive therapies, questionable supplements, or specialized clinics. Today, I'm going to show you 5 scientifically proven strategies that can restore your hormone levels naturally, and best of all, without spending a single penny. If you're here looking for natural, cost-free ways to optimize your hormonal health, you've come to the right place. I've spent years studying endocrinology and hormonal physiology, and what I'm going to share today isn't internet hacks or passing fads. These are strategies validated by hundreds of scientific studies that doctors and elite athletes have been using for decades, but that rarely reach the general public in a clear, accessible way. Each of these 5 techniques works independently, but when you combine them, and I'll show you exactly how to do that, the synergistic effect is extraordinary. And stick around until the end, because the last tip is the most powerful, the most counterintuitive, and curiously the one that people talk about least, even though it has the potential to impact your hormone levels in a matter of weeks, not months. The first method is completely free and incredibly powerful: sleeping better. And before you think, oh, another person talking about sleep, let me show you data that will change your perspective. A University of Chicago study followed young, healthy men for just 1 week of sleep restriction, sleeping 5 hours per night. The result? A 10 to 15% drop in testosterone levels, equivalent to aging 10 to 15 years biologically. But here's what's most alarming. They also measured how these men felt, and most didn't even notice the decline. They thought they were functioning normally with coffee and willpower. Here's the science behind it. Approximately 60 to 70% of your daily testosterone production happens during deep sleep phases, especially between hours 3 and 8 of sleep. It's during this period that your body releases pulses of luteinizing hormone, which signals your testicles to produce testosterone. When you cut this cycle short, whether by sleeping too little or having fragmented, poor quality sleep, you literally interrupt your body's hormonal factory. And we're not talking about a temporary effect. Chronic sleep deprivation creates a vicious cycle where low testosterone further worsens sleep quality. So, how do you optimize this practically? First, establish a fixed time to sleep and wake up, even on weekends. Your circadian rhythm functions like an extremely precise biological clock, and consistency is fundamental. Second, transform your bedroom into a cave. Total darkness. Even that little charging light can suppress melatonin and disrupt deep sleep. Use blackout curtains or a sleep mask if necessary. Third, avoid screens at least 1 hour before bed. Blue light not only suppresses melatonin, but keeps your brain in an alert state. If you need to use screens, activate night mode or use blue light blocking glasses. Fourth, keep your bedroom cool, ideally between 65 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Your body needs to lower its internal temperature to enter deep sleep, and a warm room literally blocks this process. If you implement just these 4 changes, you can expect a 20 to 30% improvement in your sleep quality within 2 weeks. But sleeping well won't help if you don't take care of this next fundamental aspect that most people completely neglect. The second method is strength training, but there's a crucial detail that most people get completely wrong, and this can be the difference between increasing or decreasing your testosterone. I'll be direct. Excessive cardio, especially long runs and steady-state cardio, can actually reduce your testosterone levels. Studies with marathon runners show hormone levels comparable to sedentary men. On the other hand, strength training, especially with compound intense exercises, can elevate your testosterone by up to 40% in the hours following the workout, and chronically by 15 to 20% when done consistently. Here's the science. When you recruit large muscle groups simultaneously, like in squats, deadlifts, or push-ups, your body interprets this as a signal of need for growth and adaptation. This triggers a hormonal cascade that includes not just testosterone, but also growth hormone. The secret is in intensity, not duration. A well-structured 30 to 45-minute workout, taking your muscles close to failure, is infinitely superior to an hour of light exercises. And here's the best part. You don't need an expensive gym, sophisticated equipment, or personal trainer. Bodyweight exercises, when done correctly and with proper progression, are equally effective. Squats, push-ups, pull-ups, dips, lunges, and plank variations work multiple muscle groups and can be done anywhere. The ideal protocol is to train 3 to 4 times per week, never on consecutive days. Why? Because the magic doesn't happen during the workout. It happens during recovery. When you train, you're essentially creating muscle micro tears and metabolic stress. It's during rest that your body repairs, grows, and produces anabolic hormones. Training every day or doing very long sessions doesn't give your body recovery time. Chronically elevating cortisol and suppressing testosterone, this is overtraining, and it's a classic mistake. Progression is also fundamental. Your body adapts quickly, so you need to constantly challenge your muscles. This can mean more repetitions, less rest between sets, harder exercise variations, or adding resistance with backpacks, water bottles, or cheap resistance bands. The key is, if it's getting easy, it's time to increase the challenge. A practical example, start with 3 sets of 10 regular push-ups. When you can do this easily, progress to push-ups with feet elevated, then archer push-ups, then one-arm push-up attempts. There's always a next level. Now, if you train but don't take care of what I'm about to tell you, you could be completely sabotaging your results, no matter how heavy you train. The third tip is one of the biggest silent killers of testosterone, and ironically, it's something that modern society practically glorifies: chronic stress. Let me show you what happens biochemically. Your body has 2 main hormonal systems that compete for the same resources: the cortisol axis, the stress hormone, and the testosterone axis. Both are produced from the same precursor, pregnenolone. Here's the problem. When you're under chronic stress, whether from work, finances, relationships, or that hustle culture mentality of working 16 hours a day, your body prioritizes immediate survival over reproduction and growth. In practical terms, this means all available pregnenolone is diverted to produce cortisol, literally stealing the raw material needed to produce testosterone. Studies show that men with high occupational stress can have testosterone up to 25% lower than their peers in the same age group. And that's not all. Chronically elevated cortisol increases an enzyme called aromatase, which converts testosterone into estrogen. So you're not just producing less testosterone, you're actively converting what you have into female hormone. It's a devastating double whammy. The signs of chronic stress are more subtle than you might imagine. That difficulty turning off your brain at night, the constant feeling of being on edge, disproportionate irritability over small things, fatigue that doesn't improve with sleep, and that low-grade anxiety that always seems present in the back of your mind. If you identified with 2 or more of these signs, your cortisol is probably hurting your testosterone. The good news is, There are free, scientifically validated techniques to reverse this. First technique, controlled deep breathing, specifically the 4-7-8 technique. Inhale through your nose, counting to 4, hold for 7 seconds, exhale through your mouth, counting to 8. Do this for just 5 minutes a day, preferably in the morning. Studies show this activates the parasympathetic nervous system, reducing cortisol by up to 25% in just a few weeks. Second, nature walks. And here's an important detail: not just any walk. Japanese studies on Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing, show that walking in natural environments, even urban parks, for 20 to 30 minutes reduces cortisol more effectively than walking in urban environments or exercising in a gym. Something about exposure to trees, natural sounds, and fresh air uniquely recalibrates your nervous system. Third, basic meditation. And relax, you don't need to become a Buddhist monk. Just 10 minutes a day of mindfulness meditation, which you can learn for free on YouTube or apps like Insight Timer, has been shown in meta-analyses to consistently reduce cortisol and improve psychological stress markers. Fourth technique, and this one is crucial: establish firm boundaries with work and social media. Turn off notifications after 8 p.m. Create a rule of not checking work emails on weekends. Limit your time on social media to 30 minutes a day. Each notification is a cortisol microspike, and when you multiply this by dozens or hundreds of times a day, every day, the cumulative impact is devastating to your hormonal health. Fifth, cultivate genuine relationships and moments of laughter. Studies show that positive social interactions and genuine laughter reduce cortisol and increase endorphins, creating a more favorable hormonal environment for testosterone. This is priceless and costs nothing. But there's something you're doing every day, probably without even realizing it, that could be impacting your hormone levels even more profoundly than stress. The fourth method is so simple and powerful that you'll wonder why you didn't do this before and why your doctor never mentioned it. Strategic sun exposure. Here's a fact that will surprise you. Vitamin D isn't technically a vitamin. It's a steroid prohormone. Its chemical structure is more similar to testosterone and estrogen than to real vitamins like vitamin C. And there's a fascinating evolutionary reason for this. Our ancestors spent hours outdoors every day, so our bodies evolved to use sunlight as a master hormonal regulator. Now comes the alarming part. Studies estimate that 40 to 60% of adult men have vitamin D deficiency or insufficiency, especially those who work in closed environments, live in higher latitudes, or have darker skin that requires more sun exposure to produce the same amount of vitamin D, and the hormonal consequences are dramatic. An Austrian study with more than 2,000 men found a direct correlation. Those with adequate vitamin D levels above 30 nanograms per milliliter had on average 25 to 30% more free and total testosterone compared to those with deficiency. Another placebo-controlled study showed that vitamin D supplementation in deficient men increased testosterone by 20% after 1 year. But here's the crucial detail that few talk about. Vitamin D produced by your skin through sun exposure is biologically superior to oral supplementation. Why? Because when UVB rays hit your skin, they convert 7-dehydrocholesterol into vitamin D3, which then goes through a series of conversions in the liver and kidneys. But the dermal process also produces other beneficial photoproducts that you don't get from supplements, including nitric oxide, which improves blood circulation, fundamental for sexual function and hormonal distribution. The ideal sun protocol is surprisingly specific: 15 to 30 minutes of direct exposure per day, but timing is crucial. The best time is between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., when the sun's angle allows more UVB rays to penetrate the atmosphere. I know this contradicts what you've heard about avoiding midday sun, but for vitamin D production, this is precisely the most efficient period you can get in 15 minutes at noon, what would take 2 hours at 8 a.m. That said, if you have very fair skin or a history of skin cancer, prioritize before 10 a.m. or after 4 p.m. and increase exposure time. The exposed skin area also matters a lot. Exposing only your face and hands produces minimal vitamin D. You need to expose arms, legs, and ideally torso. The more skin, the more hormonal production. Think of it like solar panels. The larger the area, the more energy you capture. And here's the controversial but scientifically validated protocol. For the first 15 to 20 minutes, no sunscreen. Sunscreen blocks 95 to 99% of the UVB rays needed to produce vitamin D. After those first minutes, apply protection if you'll be exposed longer. You want the hormonal benefits without the dermal damage, and the extra benefits go far beyond testosterone. Morning sun exposure synchronizes your circadian rhythm, suppressing melatonin and elevating cortisol at the right time, which paradoxically improves your sleep at night and reduces chronic cortisol. Sunlight also stimulates serotonin production, the feel-good neurotransmitter, explaining why you naturally feel better on sunny days. Studies show that people with regular sun exposure have significantly lower rates of depression, anxiety, and mood disorders. There's even evidence that sun exposure increases beta endorphins, creating that subtle feeling of euphoria after time in the sun. And best of all, it's completely free. You don't need expensive supplements, you don't need equipment, you don't need a gym. Just you, the sun, and 20 minutes a day. If you live in a region with little sun, especially in winter, consider supplementing with vitamin D3. Ideally 2,000 to 4,000 IU per day, but nothing replaces real sun. And now we come to the most powerful, most counterintuitive, and most controversial tip. It's the strategy that fewer people talk about, but that has the potential to transform your hormone levels faster than anything else we've discussed so far. The fifth and final method is controversial, counterintuitive, and extremely effective: strategic intermittent fasting. And before you think another diet fad, let me show you the hormonal science behind this that the food industry doesn't want you to know. First, let's destroy a myth. Eating every 3 hours doesn't speed up your metabolism and isn't necessary to maintain muscle mass. In fact, this constant eating pattern may be harming your hormonal health. Here's what happens biochemically. When you eat, especially carbohydrates, your insulin rises. Constantly elevated insulin creates insulin resistance, and studies show a brutal inverse correlation between insulin resistance and testosterone. Men with metabolic syndrome, characterized by insulin resistance, have 30 to 40% lower testosterone than metabolically healthy men. Now comes the fascinating part. Short-term studies show that fasting can increase luteinizing hormone by up to 67% and testosterone by up to 180%. But be careful with this statistic, because these are acute spikes, not chronic. The real benefit of intermittent fasting is the dramatic improvement in insulin sensitivity, which over time creates a much more favorable hormonal environment for sustained testosterone production. Additionally, fasting activates a cellular process called autophagy, literally self-eating, where your cells recycle damaged components and dysfunctional proteins. Think of it as a deep cellular cleaning. This is crucial because hormonal production depends on healthy cells and functional receptors. Autophagy also removes aged and dysfunctional Leydig cells in the testicles, which are responsible for producing testosterone, allowing regeneration of younger, more efficient cells. And the best part? It's completely free. You literally save money not buying breakfast. The basic protocol is 16-8. You fast for 16 hours and eat within an 8-hour window. This sounds intimidating, but in practice, it's simple. Have your last meal at 8 p.m., skip breakfast, and eat again at noon. You're already sleeping 7 to 8 of those 16 hours. So in practice, it's only 8 to 9 hours awake without eating. During the fast, you can and should stay hydrated. Water, black coffee, and unsweetened tea are allowed and even recommended. The caffeine in coffee can even potentiate the effects of fasting by increasing metabolism and fat oxidation. But here's the crucial mistake people make. They break the fast with the wrong foods. There's no point in fasting 16 hours and then devouring fast food, sweets, and soda. The quality of what you eat is as important as when you eat. During your eating window, prioritize quality proteins like eggs, meat, fish, chicken. Your body needs amino acids, especially leucine, to maintain muscle mass and signal growth. Healthy fats are absolutely crucial for hormonal production because testosterone is literally synthesized from cholesterol. Yes, cholesterol isn't the villain they painted it to be. Consume avocado, olive oil, egg yolks, nuts, seeds, fatty fish. Studies show that very low-fat diets, below 20% of calories, can reduce testosterone by up to 15%. Cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, kale, and cabbage contain compounds called indole-3-carbinol that help metabolize estrogen, reducing excess of this hormone that competes with testosterone. Zinc and magnesium are essential cofactors in testosterone production. Good sources include pumpkin seeds, Brazil nuts, almonds, spinach, and dark chocolate with 85% or more cocoa. Now, what to avoid is equally important. Excess sugar spikes insulin and promotes systemic inflammation that harms all hormonal systems. Ultra-processed foods contain oxidized vegetable oils, preservatives, and additives that act as endocrine disruptors. Excess alcohol is devastating. Ethanol increases the aromatase enzyme that converts testosterone to estrogen and directly damages Leydig cells. One study showed that heavy alcohol consumption can reduce testosterone by up to 23% in just 24 hours. Excess processed soy, especially soy protein isolate, contains phytoestrogens that can have mild estrogenic effects. Edamame and fermented soy sauce in moderate amounts are probably safe, but daily soy protein shakes can be problematic. Plastics containing BPA and phthalates are also endocrine disruptors. Avoid heating food in plastic containers and prefer glass or stainless steel. Now, a critical warning: intermittent fasting isn't for everyone. If you have a history of eating disorders, binge eating disorders, type 1 diabetes, or are underweight, fasting can be harmful or even dangerous. Growing adolescents, pregnant or nursing women should also not fast. If you have any medical condition or take medications, especially for diabetes or blood pressure, consult a doctor before starting. Listen to your body. If you feel very bad, dizzy, with extreme fatigue or severe irritability, fasting may not be for you, and that's okay. There are 4 other powerful strategies in this video, but if you implement fasting correctly, combined with optimized sleep, smart training, stress management, and sun exposure, you'll create an extraordinary hormonal synergy. Here's the secret that few talk about and that can multiply your results. These 5 strategies don't work linearly when combined. They work exponentially. Each one amplifies the others, creating what scientists call a synergistic effect. Let me show you how this works in practice and why order and timing matter so much. Imagine your hormonal system as an orchestra. Each strategy is a different musician. A violinist alone is beautiful, but when you add the piano, drums, brass, and everyone plays harmonized, you create a symphony. That's exactly what happens hormonally when you synchronize these practices. Here's the ideal combined protocol I recommend. First, you wake up naturally after 7 to 9 hours of deep sleep in a dark, cool room. This means you've already spent the night with maximum testosterone production during deep sleep. Immediately upon waking, within the first 30 minutes, you expose yourself to sunlight for 20 minutes. This can be on the balcony, in the yard, or even near an open window if you don't have access to outdoor space. This morning exposure does three things simultaneously: suppresses residual melatonin to make you alert, triggers cortisol production at the right time of day, creating the correct circadian rhythm, and initiates a vitamin D synthesis. This morning cortisol spike is healthy and necessary, completely different from the chronic cortisol from stress we discussed earlier. After this sun exposure, you're in the middle of your 16-hour intermittent fast. Your body is in a mild state of ketosis, burning fat, with low insulin and optimized cellular sensitivity. This is the perfect time to train. Why? Because growth hormone is elevated during fasting, testosterone is naturally high in the morning, and fasted training further potentiates the anabolic hormonal response. You do your 30 to 45-minute strength workout, focusing on compound exercises, taking muscles close to failure. After training, you have an anabolic window where your muscles are thirsty for nutrients. This is the ideal time to break your fast with a meal rich in protein, healthy fats, and vegetables. You've just signaled muscle growth at the moment of maximum hormonal receptivity. During the day, you practice stress management. This could be 5 minutes of deep breathing during lunch break, a short outdoor walk between meetings, or simply turning off unnecessary notifications. These micro habits keep your cortisol controlled throughout the day. In the evening, you have your last meal by 8 p.m., leaving at least 2 to 3 hours before bed for complete digestion. You avoid screens after 9 p.m. or use blue light blockers. Your room is prepared, dark, cool, quiet. You sleep deeply because your circadian rhythm is perfectly calibrated by morning sun exposure, and the cycle begins again. Now, let's talk about realistic expectations, because I'm not going to lie to you promising instant magical results. In the first 2 weeks, you'll probably notice improvement in sleep quality and more energy during the day. These are the first signs that your hormonal system is responding. Between 2 to 4 weeks, most men report a noticeable increase in libido, better recovery after workouts, and improvement in mood and mental focus. These are indirect indicators that testosterone is rising. Between 6 to 12 weeks, you'll see physical changes, more evident muscle mass gains, reduction in abdominal fat, better skin, and that natural presence and confidence that comes with optimized hormone levels. Maximum benefits appear between 3 to 6 months of consistency. And here's the key word: consistency. It's not doing everything perfect for 1 week and then abandoning it. It's doing it 80% of the time, most days, for months. It's transforming this into a lifestyle, not a temporary diet or challenge. You'll have bad days. You'll sleep poorly occasionally. You'll skip a workout. You'll eat junk at a birthday party. That's okay. What matters is the overall trend, not daily perfection. If you follow this combined protocol 5 to 6 days a week, you're on the right track. And here's something few people realize: the benefits aren't just hormonal. You're creating metabolic resilience, cardiovascular health, optimized brain function, and longevity. You're not just increasing testosterone, you're becoming a biologically younger, more vibrant version of yourself. Let's quickly recap the 5 natural and free ways to increase your testosterone. Optimize your sleep by getting 7 to 9 hours. Train intelligently, focusing on strength, not excessive cardio. Manage your stress because cortisol is testosterone's enemy. Get daily sun since vitamin D is essential. and try intermittent fasting with conscious nutrition. Which of these will you implement today? Leave it in the comments. And if this video added value, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more science-based content on health and performance. Remember that if you suspect critically low testosterone levels, seek an endocrinologist. These tips are for natural optimization and don't replace professional medical evaluation. See you in the next video. Until then, take care of your hormonal health.